Colin Oliver is one of the poets one of the sort poets I most admire. He's a very committed poet. He lives on the east of England, in, I believe, Norfolk. He has, it's hard to describe, but he's kind of developed and honed his own style, which I absolutely love. I happen to know that he has 2 books on Amazon, but I don't remember their names, but I wanted to ask him what their names are and which one, if I was going to buy one of them, he would recommend. One of them is Stepping into Brilliant Air, I believe. Is that right, Colin?
Yes, that's right, Emmanuel.
Okay. And what's the title of the other one?
Well, the one that I'm going to read from this evening is called, here it is, Incredible Countries. And it's a selection of poems. It's available on Amazon, published by the Scholland Trust. So that's the one that I would talk about this evening, because I'm going to read from it. Thank you, Emmanuel.
Say the name. Say the name again.
Incredible Countries.
Incredible Countries. Okay, I want to get that. So I am happy to announce Colin Oliver.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Well, it's lovely to be here with you all. And I'm going to read from the book, Incredible Countries, that I just showed you, and that Emmanuel so very nicely brought up there. So here we go. Just the first one. It's about my great uncle George, and it's a poem that sees him from a child's perspective. George. I saw him watching as a small boy watches, but I never heard him. He never spoke. He passes in silence through my remembering, his wire-boned stride flustering the geese, a sack live with a ferret in his grip. Home is a ditched railway carriage, miles from the railway. He sits inside, the door open. I see him, stiff on his chair with hands at rest, a goose egg in his palm. The next poem is called Only the Names, and it's about my grandmother and my mother. It's about how memory can sometimes falter. Only the names. Names elude her, even that of her daughter visiting daily. The wind ruffles her garden. The tulips redden in their delicate shadows. A story comes. She picks a corner and sees it unfold. Only the names give her pause. She bids her daughter goodbye, then waits, unsure, waits on memory's cuckoo game. At the click of the gate, she finds her and calls her name. This next poem is about anticipation. It's called I Walk into the Weather. I walk into the weather, no news of your coming, unless this flood of joy is news. A dark fabric slides down the sky, the path rattles, blinded. In moments, the light is falling in the trees, the hail dizzied on the ground. I return weightless and hear of your coming. I imagine your plane in a high cruise, a gleam of silver catching someone's eye. Bumblebee is an early spring poem. The blackthorn is in blossom. I brought this poem home from the fields. It's very short. Bumblebee. Crawling among blackthorn stars, the bumblebee is drunk. Petals float from her blunders. Her wings move in and out of humming. On her body is the glory of the sun's wet shine. And this one is called The Chapel. The Peninsula Road peters out at the chapel, stone built, shaped like a barn. Past the dead stillness of elms, the beetle flexing at shadows. Inside, sparrows in the rafters, dust motes in slants from high windows. We bring nothing here. What is received is a tidal roar to the ear. Later, on salt marsh paths, through grass and sea lavender, we are overshadowed still. This next poem is called Cadman. Now it appears also in this book, We Humans, which some of you will recognize. It's an anthology of poetry by Subud members, and it was edited by our Emmanuel here, Emmanuel Williams, and by Stephanie Brown. Cadman is in here. I ought to just say that Cadman lived a long time ago in the north of England. He was a cowherd at the Whitby Monastery. One day, he was visited by inspiration and discovered that he could sing beautifully. And he went on to receive new songs. When he sang to others, they were deeply moved and their lives changed. Cadman. Before I read it, Stefan, I can see you. Lovely to see you. So here's the poem, Cadman. Cadman I heard in the barn, not mumbling comfort in a cow's ear, but singing. I was enthralled. Tiny fires were fanned in the dust. In a dream, His song had begun to flutter inside him. One of those small deaths set it free, he said. Praise, he sang. The mist was rising there, and the world pristine. And that music searched us as we listened. Bitter rinds were peeled from our hearts. A strange turn, he said. Who dissolved me in such dark wonders? And for a change, late afternoon. Late afternoon, the rain passed. I go out to post a letter. Leaves on the chestnut lift in the wind. Nothing but this moment. My hand lifts, the mouth of the box drips rain. River trees. Down from the weir, I cross the river on stepping stones. My foot slips, and I wade knee-deep to the bank. On the trunk of an elm, leaning over the water, I lie back, overwhelmed by the friendliness of trees. Without rift, how wide-eyed we are, how light-hearted. In writing, I find there's a necessary combination, and I'm sure many of you do too, a necessary combination of being devoted to the task and at the same time being willing to yield and invite surprises. Ploughing at nightfall, this next poem, surprised me. Ploughing at nightfall. The hill lights burn like a fuse. The magpie flies the hedgerow, white, white, white. The tractor roars down its beam, the plough glowing. And pressing on the small door of the self, the night's immense emptiness comes falling in. The next poem, To Tip a Word, is about a homeless person, a wanderer, who came to my door. She asked me for hot water, nothing more. To tip a word. She stands at my door, shows a billy can, a packet of tea, pale blue eyes, oil in her frown. I ask her in. Reluctant, she dips to a stool. The rubbed grime of her coat folds in a dark luster. I boil water, make a parcel of bread and cheese. She moistens her lips, rocks, as if to tip a word from the brim of herself. I wait, suspended, until, through the window, the last of the evening light is upon us. Jewel. This poem is about a young friend with a painful past. He has learning difficulties and he is unpredictable. Jewel. Hurt keeps you a child, will always keep you. I stand at your side in the paddock, a calm hour. You do not flinch or run wild. You fondle the goat, gently wring your sleeve from his mouth. Deep inside the jewel of this moment, bend close to his mischievous eye. Teasels. Summer. I sit in my friend's kitchen. How can I help? I ask. Cut down the thistles in the pasture, she says, but spare the teasels. She fondly opens her book of wildflowers and reads to me. Leaves form cups that fill with rainwater. Petals are rosy purple. Outside, I savor the heat. The lime in the field is tall and sudden, a rush from skirt to crown. I swing the sickle. The thistles fall in their patches. My palm melts the grime of the handle. September shall set a vase of teasels on the sill facing south. Two more poems to end. This one is called I Wake as Crystal. Slowly, slowly it sifts down my illness. I wake as crystal. Water chalky from the pump has found its clarity. Everything I turn to comes inside. A knock, and visitors appear and charm me. I wear the look on their faces. Together, we lean on the pasture gate. Now, I'm utterly replaced by a horse walking its rim of fire into chestnut shade. And I'd like to end with this one. My mother and grandmother making another appearance. It's about my earliest memory, being held up to see a swan on the river. It's called The Early World. I recall the early world, how firmly I was placed on its sill. In the kitchen, at the open window, my mother, or my grandmother perhaps, spoke in my ear. I saw a swan raised in that moment out of nothing. The willow bowed, the reeds quivered, and a milk-white amazement dawned on the river. That's it. Thank you very much.
Woohoo!
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
Thank you.